Hello and welcome to Make Ideas Reality, the podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to everyday creative heroes making their ideas reality that wouldn't necessarily get their story heard. I hope to inspire you with their stories, give you courage to leave your comfort zone, think big, and be the badass creator you are meant to be. I'm Justin White, aka The Garage Avenger. Let's do this! Hello and welcome to episode 22 of Make Ideas Reality. Today's guests, yes plural, they're a husband and wife team traveling the world pursuing their automotive passion. By showing their souls through their photography and storytelling, their publication has grown to reach millions. As they share the stories of cars and, more importantly, the people behind them. Their journey has had them working with gangster rappers, TV celebrities, and that guy down the street that just loves his Volkswagen Beetle. They've bucked the status quo all the way, saying to the world, this is how we roll. Welcome to the show, Tony and Carmen Matthews from Superfly Autos.
Thanks for having us.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, Justin. That was quite a hell of an introduction. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's kind of gangster rappers as well. That's pretty cool. I'm sure some people
makes us sound gangster.
Exactly. Curious of what that's about, I'm sure. So we'll share that later.
Good. Now, you and I, we met through a mutual actual podcast, weirdly. I heard you guys on another podcast, what is it, like nearly 3 years ago or something like this. And through this podcast, I somehow got in touch with you guys, and we've stayed in contact for a long time. So it's actually really cool how small the world is when you come to that sort of things. I thought you guys would be a great guest to have on the show because it's a little bit something different from what we normally talk about, which is making stuff, and you guys still make stuff. It's just in a different way, and I think this is something that I think might be interesting for our listeners. So let's just talk about a little bit about yourselves. Who is Tony and Carmen Matthews, and what is Superfly Autos?
So basically, Tony and Carmen Matthews, we are a married couple, and we've been married 7 years, if I'm not mistaken. Get that right?
Around about that time.
Been together 16 years, and we actually met through cars.
Yeah.
It's about a passion of both of ours. And to fast forward quickly, basically Superfly Autos is a digital publication whereby both Carmen and I travel the world to find the most inspiring people who build the coolest vehicles out there, from hot rods, lowriders, classic retro cars and the like. And we just want to share their story and the lifestyle they embody. So we meet people that are rappers, tattoo artists, builders,
electricians.
Everything.
Like really random people. There's no rhyme or reason on what they do in their daily lives compared to their creations.
And we just love to try and mix both what they do as a lifestyle, including the lifestyle they're in is building cars. And for that, the ethos for that is to inspire other builders to actually go, wow, if they can do this and build a car, then I can do the same. So we try to get people like the likes of Jay Leno, who's really high up there with the cars, and have someone like him to inspire people that you can dream big, to the guy, like you said at the beginning, he's got a little Volkswagen in his garage and he's got probably a few $1,000s and that's all he has to make it, but he creates something quite unique.
Yeah. And I really love the way you share like that broad spectrum of the car owner, right? Or the car builder, like there's guys, that have no money, just doing their thing, making their ride just because they love it, I think it's awesome. So, how did this all start? Were you guys always into cars?
Well, where do you want to start? I think maybe you can start with your
I want to start? I'm starting.
Yeah. Ladies
first. I have a little bit of a roundabout circuit in cars. I definitely blame my father and my grandfather for it, but it's more of I held on to it because I lost both of them fairly early in my life, and cars and the creativity specifically within them, in the custom creations, that is what always fascinated me the most, and that is what stuck to me after they had left as well. And once, talk about leaving, once I left Germany, because I was born and raised in Germany. um, um, Gosh, when did I leave? I think I left in 2000. I left first to Greece, only to go to Fuerteventura. From there, I went to the French part of Switzerland, and all along, Lord and behold, all the friends I made along the lines were always car owners, car creators, had somewhere a hand in or worked in their daily lives with cars. I just did not seem to be able to shake it. Not that I ever wanted to, but that was just it. And when I worked and lived in Switzerland, I again had a very good and very dear friend of mine, who had his own garage, but also a gas station. Um, and he owned two modified Lamborghinis. This is Switzerland, Lake Geneva. So this is where Tony and I met. That's where our paths more or less crossed.
Yeah, so cars, from my perspective, since a really small child, I remember, I think my dad gave me like this little Hot Wheels Bugs Bunny car when I was, think, about 2 years old. And then obviously I went to Hot Wheels as a kid, the type of die-cast cars you could collect as a child on your window ledge. There's a big kind of models about this big. I had the poster wall of the Lamborghini Countach, the ideal 80s sports car from back then. And then my cousins got into car magazines, started showing me magazines. I was starting to drive at the age of 18. And I was like, wow, this lifestyle is quite incredible. People are meeting each other, building these cool cars. And I made it my mission to actually get involved. So I started to build my own car. So what I used to do is, whilst at university, I used to literally work on weekends at a supermarket, stacking shelves. And any spare change I had was literally to buy my own car and customize it. And the aim was to one day get it featured in a car magazine. And I lived in an area where it was not the most affluent, let's say. And a lot of people gave me a lot of problems because I managed to buy my own car brand new, but I used to pay monthly for it on a really small amount each month. And even despite the problems of having windows put through and all sorts, I still decided I was still going to do this. I wasn't going to allow people's mindsets and poverty-stricken mindset to stop me to try and get out to this kind of place. And what I did is one day I actually managed to get a photograph of my car, a really small photograph, in one of the reports of this event that was having in my area. And that just spurred me on to do even more. And then I eventually managed to get a full article in this magazine in England called Max Power. It was one of the biggest in the world at the time. And that was just like, I'd love to do more with this industry. How can I get involved? And as fate has it, I had a friend who had a garage who built Renault 5 turbos, and he had two engines in this car. So it's quite a unique build, one at the front and the back, more powerful than Lamborghini. And one day he says, I've just been invited to the south of France to showcase this car to car show. And I was like, wow, where's this? He says, well, it's in this place called Agda. And I was like, say that again? And I was dumbfounded the fact that this location in south of France is where part of my family comes from. And I was raised there as a kid. And I was like, that's insane. He said, well, actually, you speak fluent French, right? Do you mind coming with me? We'll do a road trip. I'll pay for everything and you just be my translator. And I was like, of course I'm going to do that. So we literally took a trailer from North England, all the way from North England to the south of France, which is one hell of a trip.
Like 14 hours, isn't it?
14 hours, crazy amount, thousands of miles. And we arrived there and I spent time seeing my family, which is amazing, my cousins, my grandparents and that. And then it was a car show on the beach. And then I was introduced to a car magazine called Fast Car, which was in England. They started realizing I speak French. They went, oh, you can help to translate for us and maybe get some car owner stories. So like, okay, I'm going to do that. And after a weekend of this, I was like, how can I get into this line of work? And I spoke to the photographer and I said, I'm in this already. I love this industry. How can we work together? And he says, well, if you find the cars on the internet, I'll be the photographer. And back then it wasn't digital. It was purely film. And I'll teach you how to write a proper article, because I wasn't a journalist. I was just at university doing a study in business, didn't do anything like that before. And so I started searching in Yahoo back in the day, on forums, not on Instagram and Facebook like we do today. And I actually found a guy in Switzerland, and this is where it connects with Carmen. There he says, oh, I've got 5 cars. And I got a couple of guys with some other cars and Lamborghinis. You can come over, not a problem. So I'm like, brilliant, this is great. So I spoke to the photographer and he said, look, I'll pay the trip. I'll do the, pay the flights and everything. And then when you write, we'll split the costs and, we get for the magazine for featuring the articles. And then that's what happens. I flew over to Switzerland for a few days. Carmen happens to be one of the friends of the Lamborghini owner. We speak in half French and English because obviously
my English was not like what it is right now.
Nowhere
near. No.
So kind of half and half. And then from then on, obviously we connected. It just so happened that we connected. And so the car thing then from then exploded even more, because as I finished university, there was actually a job going for this magazine. And the photographer was like, look, I'm going to put you forward because you're in the scene, you know it inside out, you've got a lot of connections, you've got the language skills, you know what you talk about. So they offered me a 2-week trial to come down, meet the team, spend some time, let's see if it's something that I like, and vice versa. Obviously, it worked out really well. And that's where it kind of exploded.
Let's fast forward a little bit. Now, you're working for this car magazine. You've also come to England. Now, I assume at some point you guys get together. When did the actual Superfly Auto magazine start being produced?
So would it be 2011, 12, if I'm not mistaken?
Let me just go through. So I arrived 2003, you came down 2003, 2006, we started photography together, and you left Fast Car.
Yes, if we go back there, that's a good point. Yes, so
we had actually a stint where we only took on photography work as well as like translation work. Bridging language barriers basically for different car magazines around the world. And then 2012 we started the first round of attempt in getting our magazine online. In 2014, before we actually left our full-time employment, we did enter our magazine into the international, what was it called? International Digital Magazine Awards. And it was truly like how like Top Gear was in there, like anyone who had a name, and Bauer Verlag is like literally anyone who had major magazines out
different
was
niches.
in there of different niches. And the two of us entered.
We just thought
we have
go.
no clue why we are doing this, just to show ourselves. But it was really good to just simply see how we fare and how we measure compared to others on a professional level, because up to that point we actually never ever thought on how we could make any money. Like literally that is where we comparatively are exactly like any creatives out there. Any creator out there starts with, oh, I love creating this, it's really I have good fun with it, it's a good hobby. And then when it comes to selling yourself, putting a price tag on, it's like, oh my god, I don't know, I have no idea how this is supposed to happen, I don't know how to measure my work. And exactly that is the same position where we were in. So we had to start somewhere and just see how we measure ourselves there. And I think we fared really well, because we were finalists in our category for that year under the new titles in the car genre, ahead of Top Gear, which was really good for us.
Wow, that's awesome.
A team of 14, we were a team of 2.
It was interesting to see that, when you have the skills, when you look at that, you're like, wow, okay, so we are doing something pretty well. The fact that 2 people with a whole team, like Carmen said, at 14, sometimes I think we underestimate how good we are, and it's something we should own, not think in an ego way like, oh, look at me. It's like, no, actually each one of us have a skill. A lot of your guests you have got special skills with their hands and creative, just like yourself. And I think we underestimate sometimes how we have, and then brush it aside. So for us, because we're not the kind of people who always shout about ourselves, and we're like, wow, actually, gosh, we didn't realize. And so to then bring into that where I come with what they're saying is that then we were thinking, do we charge? And unfortunately, the industry was not willing to purchase those kind of magazines, because more and more content came online, and they were like, well, you can go on blogs now where the quality is so far better than most publications. Why would we want to pay anymore? So we made it free and tried to bring in advertising. And so what happened is a mixture of things when we decided then that the best option was to go purely in the blog form and embrace social media 100% more than we were, because the download rates of 15 seconds was too slow for people, which really completely surprised us. Some of the publications and other advertisements didn't really feel that advertising within the app was what they wanted. And it also felt to us that we were literally locking away the content and not reaching as many people as we could. Because what we noticed is to compete on a newsstand, the amount of cash you need to compete is vast. We didn't realize it was going to need a lot of capital. We didn't really have that. So we thought, well, instead of continuing something that would ultimately fail the brand, let's just take it offline, build a really good website, and embrace social media. And that's when things started to take a huge trajectory for us.
Everything Tony just said, and I want to throw that in because I think that will be very, very relatable to your listeners as well, is when Tony is saying it, it sounds all very smooth, very logic, very level-headed. It wasn't. There was a process behind that, and definitely we had to step our own egos down a little bit. A lot of F's, yes, a lot of that as well. Failure, of course, that is not.
Oh, I thought you meant fucks, because I'm dropping the F.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yes.
No, there was a lot of swearing involved. I have to admit that. And you know, to get to notching down our egos a little bit and say, okay, let's just take that another approach and look at it. And this is again that flipping around that I like doing. Like, okay, what do we ultimately want out of our magazine? Do we want to have like X gazillions of dollars, or do we actually want to go somewhere and make something out of it? Do we want to reach people? And it was for both of us, no, we want to reach people. We want to do that because of the people, for the people, and all the people within. So, you know, does our ego matter? No, it doesn't. So let's step it down. And that was like literally the short of what Tony just said in the heaviness of it. That's what I just added.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you built now a platform mainly on social media, and you know things are going really well. You realize what that you can't do any more unless you get free of your day jobs. So let's talk about that.
Talk about that.
2014, and it was about May. No, it was June. It was already summertime. One morning, and I didn't know what hit me. Tony woke up in the most awful mood, and he's a very placid guy, I have to say that. So for him to wake up in that way was absolutely, or is not in his nature, but he woke up in a really foul mood and pissed off at life, quite literally, saying this is not going really well for us, is it? At the time, Tony was in the position of having working a contract that was every 3 months renewed. So every 3 months, we didn't know if he had a job the next day or not. I was in a job where I was literally working myself into the ground and below the ground, 6 feet under, quite literally. It was incredibly demanding on my mind as well, on my body. And amongst that, we had the fact that from our Superfly Autos perspective, we had reached a limit. We couldn't go any further unless we invested more time. And we hadn't had more time because we were full-time in the job. So it was literally being stuck in between a rock and a hard place. And that morning, for the first time, both of us were in our entire career late for work. Because we both felt this is more important to discuss this through rather than going to work and then, you know, discussing it in the evening again, picking it up in the evening. We wanted by then another discussion from that on. So the discussion really involved what are we actually doing with our lives? Number one. Number two, do we have the guts? Can we make it to actually invest more time into our business? Can we handle it that we give up our 9 to 5s? Can we manage that somehow? that was a huge question mark, because at the time that did not make enough money to replace the money or as income that we had. So it was a huge question mark on that. And also, what would we have to do that we wouldn't fall back into our 9 to 5 habits, because it is a habit to go to work every day. Like in a whim of time, let's say give it 2 or 3 months, we kind of see this doesn't go well and we fall back into it. So what do we have to do to basically give ourselves no way back in? There's no back door. So once we had that in the morning, discussed and had a rough scope on, okay, that's it, we are tackling this. We both went to work, came home in the evening, and from then on it was literally, okay, if we are doing this, where are we going first? Because the first question was how to close that back door. What forces us to leave and not go back? Because both of us were dead scared. I have to admit that.
It's true, because your back's against the wall, Justin. It's because going back before 2014, you go. I think there's a journey through life that each and every one of us go through, where there's a lot of questions, a lot of BS, let's say, that you go through mentally, as well as the career problems like we've just discussed of, working too hard and the money's not coming in. But you feel at some point, and that's how we felt, like really trapped, like this invisible box where you're like, is this all we have to ask? Is this all we got for our life? I mean, this is bullshit. I mean, sure, we're grateful.
No.
We have a job and we were grateful what we had. But in the end, we felt we're just going to either soul destroy ourselves, or literally physically, as in health wise, destroy ourselves, or go fucking completely mental. And at some point, I think you have no other choice but a breaking point where you wake up like I did that morning and went, fuck this shit. I'm sick and tired of Carmen going to work and being treated like a piece of shit. Excuse my French, but it really riles me up, because they're in corporate banking who only care about money. They don't care about the well-being of Carmen as long as she does the job. And I was working for my local government as a contractor, where colleagues were thinking I was trying to take their job because job losses were going left, right, and centre. I'm like, I'm just trying to earn a paycheck and do good for the people in the community. I don't want to have to work every day with that kind of bullshit. And you think, well, it's either you stay that out and something cracks and one of us gets ill, for example, or out of a job, and then what? Or you decide to do something about it, where as much as, like Carmen says, it's a scary jump, but you then have options. Because I think a lot of us who maybe some of the listeners of the podcast think they've got no freaking options. They're saying they're getting a job all the time, and they've got, well, what else do I do? I've got my hobby, but no, is this all I got in life? And so that's what really drove us to go, the fear of okay, what is it going to take for us to leap? And obviously, you're probably going to say that we bought a plane ticket to Germany.
We bought that 6 months. That was the first thing we did. It's like, okay, we settle in Germany for our first jump.
And handed our notice.
And handed in our notice, got rid of everything. And I mean, literally everything we owned. Car, sofa, television, you name it, everything.
Memorabilia, even things we've stored for years, because I'm a big video game fan from a kid, and all magazines and all the video game machines I kept so reluctantly sold. But one of the things we said, we can't allow possessions to tie us back. We can always buy them again. And that was such a liberating thing, I think, because it freed up cash. Carmen worked her arse off for 6 months in a freelance position, because she managed to go from a full-time to freelance to get double the pay, which really helped.
I think for the first time when we had that scope, I don't know what happened, but something switched in my head and I got really, really ballsy. In an industry where actually it's man-dominated, I don't know how many would know, but audiovisual, doing conference calls, not Skype, but literally on a higher level, Tandberg, Sony, you name it. These are the television conferences that I did for the top 50 in the banking industry in Barclays, and I solely did it for those guys. They demanded that I was the only person to do that for them, and I had to sign countless NDAs, like non-disclosure agreements, so I wouldn't talk about what is going on behind closed doors in the banking industry. As you can imagine, there's a whole load of shit going on, and I still can't repeat it, but it's not pleasant to know all of it and not being able to do anything, say anything, or act upon it.
I feel
Either,
you there. I feel you there because, being in the military, working in submarines
yeah,
for, a long time, we did a lot of shit, saw a lot of shit, and, didn't say anything about it,
yeah,
Um, so, and I didn't have the worst military career either. There were guys that had it much worse than me, especially, soldiers and things like that, went out and saw the real shit. I was, trapped in a steel can underwater. So, you know, I definitely feel you there.
so yeah, so my head all of a sudden was, okay, if I am that good, then I'm literally letting go of my job. I'm doing this freelance, giving up the security of if I am ill tomorrow, I won't have the security there that I will be continued, paid. But what it did for me is I could ask for the money that I actually thought I was worth. And all of a sudden, my pay went from, what did I earn? I think it was £31,000 a year at the time. And I had, as a literal outcome, if I would have worked every day as they wanted me to, I would have had double. But what I actually did was I said to Tony, we need some time to actually, tidy up things, get things online to sell them, make all the sales and prepare all the sales, get things in order for us to be able to leave. So what I did was work 3 days, have 2 days off.
Yeah. So,
Um,
long story short, you guys set in a plan, you
yeah,
formulated a plan, you were saving money, working extra, and
yes,
then you bought a ticket, so you had no choice. You had to take the flights.
yeah.
You sold everything you had, and you had everything ready to go, and there was no what was the how did you close the back door? So there was no
The one
safety.
ticket. There was a one-way ticket. There is literally no home essentially to go to.
Yeah.
Since Tony and I have not really got family where we can stay forever, let's put it that way. Um, we we are very self-sufficient, um, and the back door closed means we've literally broken all ties in terms of working, handed in our notice, and said we won't come back. I had an instant offer saying, "Oh, if you're back," and I had a couple of times people check in with me, Carmen, are you in the country by then and then? I'm like, nope, I'm not, and I wasn't. So there was not even the slightest possibility for me to get there. And with us having as well managed, inverted commas only, to have half a year's worth of savings that would secure us to get through all the financial, outgoings for 6 months, there was no extra spending that we could add to go to England to make an extra little, bit on the side or something like that.
We had to make it work.
There was no other choice.
No. Because our business and everything was still registered in England, just so people are aware.
Yes.
Because yes, we left, we had no home in England, but my sister kindly said, you can put your address to here for your post. So, that was just purely the post because we can't stay there. She's got a child and everything, and she's married. It just wouldn't be fair.
Yeah.
So that's what we had. But yeah, that's basically how we did it.
Amazing story, because now your publication is of amazing quality, and also your reach is amazing. You have this huge Facebook group that is interacting with you guys. You make short films of all your guys that you're featuring. You're traveling the world. I mean, how many countries have you actually have you been to? Do you even know?
Oh, wow. I would say, top of my head, I think 12.
No, it's more than that.
Is it more? I mean,
we have never calculated. We've never calculated it through.
I think it might be roughly around that time. In the last 6 years, we've moved
16,
around.
20.
Yeah, I mean, I probably in total we probably like 20 odd countries, but I think since I've traveled, I reckon 12, because we had traveled to it before, not extensively, but what
we are going as well to various countries several times, so it's not as if we're constantly going to new countries.
Because the aim when we left as well, yes, we have family in Germany because Carmen's from Germany. I've got family in France because part of my family's French. We have some in America, and one of the things
Some
that
in
we've
Sweden,
and some in Sweden as well. And one of the things we said to the family, we don't see you often enough, and we could stay a little bit in between our travels with them, but also because of the vast community of car people around the world, there was people who were saying, wow, you guys doing this thing. I mean, yeah, you guys, if you come into our country, you can crash with us. Don't worry about hotels, you know, your family. And we were like really taken back because we were friends, but we never expected them to say, got a spare room. You can hang out with us. And what's really great is because they are part of the community of cars like we had for years, they allowed us to be within the people we love anyway. And they allowed us a base to go out there and capture the content we could never do before, because from weekends in the UK, you know, you can't really afford to fly over to America for a week or travel to Europe for a few days. At least going over on a visa for a few months to our friends in America and California, which we did 3-4 years in a row, allowed us to build the community out in California more than we would have ever done. Because ironically, our biggest audience, even though we're UK based, was the west coast of America. And we're like, that's incredible. The way the UK, but those guys over there. So we made our mission to go, okay, if we've got audiences out there, let's go and build our audience more. Let's go and meet them.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we had ambitions to meet different people that we'd never had the opportunity before, and just to expand on another level. And then, yeah, we'll discuss how it unfolds to get there, but there's so many more little nooks and crannies that we'll discuss in a second. But yeah.
So, I mean, you went over there to basically allow the magazine to talk their language, didn't you, realistically? Because, you know, they have their own style, their own way of doing things, right? And noticing that you have an audience there, you need to capitalize on that audience, and to maintain their attention on your magazine, you got to also talk with them, and often that's through their cultural things. So, like, for example, like West Coast is a lot of lowriders and stuff, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So talking that sort of style, that language, you know, will keep your readers engaged. And I think that's really important to see that you know, you guys saw who your audience was and made sure that they were catered for.
It's actually an interesting subject to touch on either way, because over time Tony and I were, inverted commas I'm saying, reminded that we have to be more niche. We have to narrow it down a little bit more. We have to make it more specific of if we wanted to go anywhere. So we had all these, you know, people telling us what we should and shouldn't do, and we always felt that's not right for us. Now, when you mention, you know, go to West Coast, California, go to specifically into the lowrider genre, you have a very specific language, and that's a lifestyle language that is being spoken. Go over to Japan, you still have lowriders, but there's a slightly different language that is being spoken. Come back over to the UK, come out to Europe in general. There are lowriders, but the language is slightly different. And what we noticed, what we do, and this, we are very perceptive people. We try to hone in and listen in. This is our forte, really. We hone into what people do and where we have language barriers. And I mean by language barriers as well, lifestyle barriers, where one genre in LA might say, well, I really don't get why the chapter out in, they call it chapters, out in Europe is doing X, Y, and Z. And we're like, that is because, and we can explain because we have been there. So out in Europe, for example, the lowriders have to sit a little bit higher, and that is by law. They can't go as low as the lowriders out in America can. So they always wonder, well, a proper lowrider should be sitting low, and we're like, they can't. They can't. Quite literally, they are not allowed to.
So you guys are like the translators, pretty much, right?
Exactly. Bridging those gaps, those language barriers, has become our forte, and that's why we do what we are doing.
Yeah, I mean, when we thought of Superfly from the beginning, we always wanted to have an eclectic mix of car culture types that everyone could appreciate each other's styling, because out there's too many people who are a little bit like being racist. You have this perception of someone else and you don't really understand, and then suddenly you get to know them like they're just like me. And we wanted to make people to really appreciate that whole mix of different kind of cars, from like a lowrider to a hot rodder to retro cars. And the whole ethos for us, for the brand of Superfly, was the word Superfly was given to the brand because it means really cool. So we only want to really feature the most creative builds. Like you with your podcast, you feature people who create some of the most amazing things, and same with cars. No different. They are builders of these amazing vehicles. And also, this is how we roll, is the tagline. They are people that are not afraid to express their individuality. If they want to drive a car in this way, that's what they will express. And if other people don't like that, that's we don't care. And so for us, it's like we want to find those people, show them that actually check out these lowride dudes in LA, but then check out these guys in the UK with these Volkswagens, and they're like, man, these cars are cool. We've never known of these guys before, but they can appreciate and respect what they do. For us, that's a big deal, to be able to do that, because then you're bridging gaps of knowledge. You're sharing ideas of creativity. Or maybe I can do that to my build. Oh, that's really cool. You've actually used that styling, which is what we do in the lowrider culture, onto your Volkswagen. So much respect for you. You're actually paying homage to what we do. That's insane. And then through that, you start to realize these guys are actually really cool dudes. Some of them got massive tattoos all over them. And then you find out this is their business. You go, let's talk about that. Let's talk about your art in tattooing that then suddenly is fused into the car. It becomes this whole amazing lifestyle, and it's a family as well. And so we were wanting to be the ones, I think, in Europe and England that would have no fear to step into, as an example, we'll go into this, into Compton in Los Angeles, which is one of the roughest parts of the world, as most people will know, and hang out with a whole lowriding community. And bear in mind, a lot of these are Black and Mexican, and we're white folk from all the other side of the planet. Yes. And we are mixing with these guys, documenting their journey. And they're like, after a few years of doing this, we've been now told by one of the most highest in that field that we are deemed as the ones who are outside of that culture, documenting and showing what they do and showing them in a light, which isn't about just gang culture. And for us, like, that's really cool. And people are like, what, you're hanging out in Compton? Isn't that dangerous? I'm like, well, of course it can be dangerous, but we're quite streetwise people, and we try to be just normal people, not do anything to piss anybody off. And we don't hang out in dodgy areas. We're the right people, and being there, it shows that actually a kind of a breakdown that actually white people are not so bad towards us, because unfortunately there is stigmas of racial influences between all this to some of the cultures we have. And we're not fearful of doing that. We'll hang out with anybody. If they got a cool ride, it doesn't matter who you are, we'll hang out. We've been with some insanely cool people for that. And it opens up a side of life that we would have never known. No. I mean, going into Compton and having street racing that you're invited to go to, which is an eye-opener, having police helicopters all over trying to close the whole street down. We are then having to jump into cars and then drive off somewhere else.
Being followed by police.
And then we arrive back at the hotel with the videographer you took for the first time outside of the UK, going, what the hell have you just put me through in the last 24 hours? I've just come from Leicester, and now I'm in Compton being chased by gangsters and all sorts of like lowriders. I'm like, what? And for us, it's like, that's insanely amazing to be a side of life that you would not see in an office every day.
Yeah. Though I have to add, there was never really a danger. No. Not in our minds.
No.
We're always street smart. We always make sure safety first of everybody around us. We don't put ourselves in danger just for the story.
No.
We want to get close enough to be able to show a good side of what people may deem as negative when it's not.
Let's talk about creativity. You guys, produce a publication that's pretty broad, and how do you find new creative angles to shoot, for example, a car, or take in tell someone's story that maybe you never told before? So when you're producing new content, like, how do you stay relevant to your readers and make sure you capture that?
I think the first thing to stay relevant, before we think about how we could document, photograph, film that person, the thing that Colin and I have been really good at for many, many years, we have this ability to feel our way and with our eyes to seem to find the right kind of vehicles to capture. That's number one, because there's a lot of people who come to us and go, it's only you guys who just seems to be able to hone in and find those unique vehicles that have been built. How do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just an inherent ability that we just have. We just seem to be able to find the ones that stand out.
I think it has been honed over years and years and years.
True.
And I think it comes back to as well what I mentioned earlier, a specific way of perceiving things. For both of us, when it comes to creativity is an extension of what's in your mind, and you're displaying it freely for everyone to see, actually.
100%.
And this is how we are working from that backwards. We see the car and we have that ability, and this is an ability that has only been honed over time, and there's no rhyme or reason how we did it. It just comes to us. We see the car, we see the creation in essence, and we can make up almost the story, or we can say, I'm intrigued about that mind behind that car. And that's how it always starts for us. It's like, okay, let's get in touch with that person. Let's see how it's like a tap on the shoulder and to hear what the story is. And for us then to say, yes, let's take that. How this is relevant, if it is relevant to us, it will be relevant to a wider audience, because the wider audience is following us. They are there for a reason. So we have to trust in essence that what we give our audience is relevant to them.
Yeah. Do you find that, that you see a feature on a car and you think that feature is unusual, that must mean there's a interesting creative mind behind that build?
Yes.
Often it is.
There is something about the way the car's being put together, and from a visual perspective, when you see there's a lot of things in the design of it, from the way it's been executed, the combination of the paint, the wheels, and whatever else has been done, where you can instantly see that there's something there with the one who creates it, and there's got to be something really special behind that. It's just a visual thing. It's like in life, we naturally, as human beings, are attracted by beautiful things. And if it's something that repels you, you're just going to be like, I just don't want to know. Now, we look at some vehicles where some people will go, I wouldn't really go for that, but we see something far beyond that. And suddenly when we then show it to people, like, I would have never thought, but now I look at it, I'm like, holy cow, this is incredible. It's amazing. So every time we see it, it's just like when we go to car events, is one of probably the prime examples. We'll go to a car event for 2 days, and there's probably about 500 vehicles, but we'll probably walk away with maybe 20 telephone numbers from the owners, because that's all there is we want to bring out from there. There's probably another 100 that are absolutely amazingly done, well built, but there's just not enough character behind it, because then, of course, then when you want to showcase this in a photograph and write about it, and then also a blog, there's got to be more substance than somebody who's just literally, got a brand new car, put a set of wheels on it, and just done a little audio installation. That's just okay, but it's not going to float anybody's inspiration and creativity to go, damn, he's done that to that car. I've got that car, and maybe I can do this to mine now. So what happens is then the creativeness behind that build is then passed on to the next person who's looking for ideas, and the next one, and the next one. And then what happened with our community, why it's so communicative and engaging, is that we've seemed to have honed an audience that have gone, holy cow, going to Superfly Autos, we're getting a complete eclectic mix, which now I'm going to find out for creative inspiration for my next project. And that's insane, because that's cool for us, because that was what we wanted from the beginning, to inspire others to build something, instead of just trying to go and do what everyone else does, and just put some wheels, put it on the floor. That's just boring.
Yeah, well, because they're not getting just hot rods. They're not getting like JDM cars. They're not just getting the one type of car. They're getting a complete world view of cars, right?
That's it. And Justin, I truly believe that creativity is expressive living, and you will find your own personal exterior to that. In what we have a connection to is cars. We love that side of it. But it doesn't matter where that creativity comes out. It might be your home, it might be any kind of interior you're doing, it might be trash you see, and in your head, this is that comes out. All of that translates into your expressiveness. And this is how you communicate. For me, creativity is a means of additional communication and take away from verbalization only. Because if, for example, if I can look at a car and I think, you know what, that is an amazing car. And I'm going to give you an example. Years ago, we saw a beautiful little Beetle going into Ultima Dabstro, which was up north in England. Both of us were almost instantly in love with that Beetle, thought we need to find the owner of that. Took us ages to find the owner. The owner was actually not even 18 at that point. Now, the story supported everything that was in that creative outlet. He had that car from, I think, when he was 12, way before he was able to drive. Both his father and grandfather were car creators, sorry. So he adapted by means of learning himself his own car for when he is 18.
So yeah, you built it over the years, didn't it?
Exactly. So he made his own money for that. He created everything around it. And you know what? The love that went into that car, that is what we picked up straight away. And that is what makes it so sellable as a story as well. It's like, because there are so many people, and this is one of the biggest complaints we hear, there are no youngsters, there are no youngsters. Well, then train the youngsters. There are enough youngsters out there. They all can be trained. Whatever luck you see in that, if you see it, it's your duty to pick up on it and make it better. That's my adaptation to all of that.
Look, it's just really interesting that you guys can see the fact that the creativity flows through the expression in their car, and and that you guys are providing a platform for others to see the creative side of others, so that they can use those things that they love about that particular build in their own build, and then potentially also be on the cover of Superfly Autos magazine. Like it's really cool, and I think it's something that I personally love, because I would love to get back into cars, but to be honest, I think my dash is done with cars at the moment. I've got bigger priorities. You guys don't even have a car, is that right?
No, we sold our last car before we left.
We had to. It wouldn't actually make any viable sense, because
we move too much.
We move on a consistent basis, and not just within one country. That would make it actually brilliant if it would be one country, or at least then only the European continent. But we are constantly, we are nowhere more than 3 months. Let's put it that way. And having a car in the UK for less than 3 months a year,
yeah, it wouldn't be worth it.
It wouldn't.
I get that. Cars here in Norway are just ridiculously expensive. Like, you have no idea. Like, triple any cost that a car costs in the UK. It's just ridiculous. So I'm not going to even look at it. But what I do want to look at is a little bit of your memorable milestones for your magazine and for your careers in cars. I thought this would be a little bit of a chance for you to indulge and share some of your brag-worthy milestones. Do you want to share some of those with us?
Brag-worthy milestone, that's hilarious. Well, I guess let's start.
We mentioned one earlier.
Yeah, you mentioned Jay Leno, didn't you?
Oh, okay, yeah, so we mentioned that as well.
Jay Leno. So yeah, we managed to interview him in his garage, where obviously the show that he has, Jay Leno's garage.
That's massive, by the way. That's
It's
massive.
A lot of people say that to us too, and we were like, "Gosh, how would we do that?" Carmen and I have a way to not be fearful of reaching out to people who are deemed that high on a pedestal. And so for us, with social media, we've become really good at understanding how to reach out to certain individuals to reach to that. So Jay Leno was one person that we actually managed to have as a guest, which was phenomenal for us, through actually having a coffee with his director, who we met through Instagram whilst we were in Los Angeles. We saw him. We said, "Oh, you're a cool dude. We'd love to have you as an interview."
And he really is a cool dude.
And he's really cool. And we said, "Do you want me to up for coffee?" And it happened. We met. We sat for a few hours, and then, cut long story short, a year later on, we came back to the US, and he was like, "I've got you the interview with Jay." And we were just like jaws to the floor. Oh shit! Is it actually going to happen? He's like, "Yeah, we're just going to put you to his publicist, and he's really busy, so I don't know how and when, but keep in contact, and something should happen."
Awesome.
Which happened.
There's a few stumbling stones in that. That's why Tony is getting like, okay.
But another one. I mean, we could talk about. I mean, let's go to right at the top, because these are definitely, I would think, some of the best ones. So, if anyone loves rap and hip hop, obviously the group Cypress Hill may obviously ring a bell to some who obviously used to listen to them in the 90s until now. So the frontman Be Real, who sings with a very high pitched voice. Since I was a kid and was 15, I used to listen to their music, and when we got into Superfly together, we realized that, this guy's into lowriding, and we thought, do you know how dope that would be to actually get this guy interviewed? I mean, this would be fucking amazing, but how the hell is that going to happen? I mean, this is a guy like Jay Leno. How the hell did you get to go to this chap?
Talk about dream to reality.
Exactly. So we had a witness that was quite big in terms of the people we'd love to get, and we never knew how we would meet them. But what happened is, we knew by being in that country of the West Coast of America, obviously in Los Angeles, that we had a better chance.
Yeah.
Because people said, you do get to meet some of these guys at car shows. It can happen. So we thought, if we're there, there's a better chance. But obviously, being very good on Instagram, we've got a high following as well. We're very good at listening on Instagram as well in the hashtags. And we just happened one day to be out shopping, and I saw a hashtag where just finished working on Imperial's latest lowrider car. And I was like,
a very small account, unbeknownst to us before as well.
And we went into the place and checked out this guy's garage, SNMK Customs. Louis, his name was. And I was like, oh my goodness, he's just finished his car. So I didn't waste a minute. My impulse was act. I acted. I went on the back end of Instagram and said, hey, Louis, we're two from England. This is who we are. We're out here documenting the car culture. Be Real's been someone we've been wanting to do this for a long time. You obviously got a garage. We'd love to do a store on you and Be Real. Can we make this work? And then I think, a few hours later, the phone rings on our cell phone, and a number we didn't know from the US, and picked up the phone, and it was like, hey man, this is Louis. I'm just on the phone to Be Real, and I've just told him about your magazine, and he's down for the shoot, man. And we were just like, what? I felt like I said to Carmen, what? Really? He's like, yeah, man, you just spoke to him now. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. If you could come a week tomorrow, he's picking the car up, and that'd be cool. And we're like, oh, frick, yeah, we're going to do that. I was like, holy shit. It was like Cloud9, because we were like, okay, when you think about how you would reach people like this who would probably get inundated with people consistently
hunting them,
trying to hunt them for the wrong reasons. We just want to actually do the journey. We just saw a back door of, being honest and open to someone who's like, the work you've done is amazing. Plus, he's somebody who wanted to do something on for a long time. Can we make this work? The guy was like, cool, you guys are genuine. You're from London. Happy to make this work. So a week later, we turn up.
And he was there.
He turns up. We were just like, this is crazy. Since the childhood, you listen to the music and he turns up. It's just like surreal. But he was a humble guy, really nice. And we did a little IGTV video on Instagram. It's on there. You can see that. And then after that, he's like, I've only got half an hour because I've got a show to do. And so basically, he's like, well, if you guys want, you can come to the studio in LA.
We did rush his shoot through. So we did get the photo shoot done first, because that was our predominant thing to do. But he did then genuinely just invite us to come along to his studio, which was like, we are going.
This sounds like story time coming here. This should we spin it? Are we doing story time?
Story time. She stared at the gown and thought, yes, this is something my husband would wear.
I think so. So what happened is then he had a tow truck to carry the the lowrider on the back, because LA traffic, as most probably know, is crazy. The car would overheat. There's too many cars.
Not only that, there's huge ramp holes in the road as well. So
exactly, and plus he had to rush back to do this show. So if anybody doesn't know what Be Real does as a show, he has his own kind of
Be Real TV.
Be Real TV, and also what's called the Smoke Box. So Be Real TV is literally on a Facebook Live where he talks everything about weed and the whole industry and rap, which is pretty cool. And the other thing, which is what we didn't realize what was going to happen while we were turning up to the studio, is the car was going to be part of the show called the Smoke Box. And we're like, what the hell is that? So the car drives into the studio, and we're told at the time, you can't give the address away, so take off your GPS off your phone. Any pictures, we don't want to disclose the location. As you can imagine, fans could turn up out of nowhere. And they literally pulled up this car into the studio, and they put all lighting around it, so softbox lighting, a lot of GoPros inside the dashboard, inside the car. And he literally has an interview inside the car with some famous celebrity or sports athlete and smoke weed, get high as hell while talking live. And so, we thought that's dope as fuck.
We came in.
That's so good.
There were actually 2 guys after us coming in with huge bags of weed.
Oh my God, the weed. I mean, obviously everyone probably right now realizes how weed is becoming more legalized globally. But when you go back to when we were the age of 15, 16, they were frowned upon, especially in Brazil. They were saying, they're dope heads, they smoke this weed, it makes you crazy. Yet now, flipping reverse, they're walking in with bags of legal weed, which were like balloon sized this big, walking past us, and we're just going to sit down. They're all rolling up on these couches, these big joints, and I'm just like, this is insane to watch this, because especially when I was 15, I used to go to the local park after school, and there'd be guys who used to smoke weed and go to the house and get weed and stuff. I didn't smoke it, but I was with them. And yet it was naughty, but then it's just like normal. It's like having a coffee. They're sitting there, yeah, man, let's just roll this weed out. And we're like, just on the fumes. We didn't have to smoke. Yeah. We're like, hey, I'm feeling kind of weird. How about you? We don't even smoke. Yeah, sorry.
But the absolute best thing, I think, Tony and I were just aimlessly standing in the middle of all of this, looking left, right, not quite sure what to make of all of this. Our eyes were caught by a whiteboard on the wall. And on the whiteboard, it said in big capital letters, wish list. And the wish list was actually to the people he wanted to invite on his Smokebox show. And Tony and I were just looking at one another, looking at the board, thinking, here's Be Real.
Celebrity.
Like celebrity. Huge. Access to anyone and everyone he would, or you could imagine. And he has a wish list. Just like us. Yeah,
Lady Gaga, Vin Diesel, all huge actors and actresses you can imagine for different movies. And we are thinking, no way, this is what we're doing. He's doing the exact same, even though he's in the same place.
Yeah, exactly like I'm doing right now. I got a wish list too.
So no difference.
That's important, because you've got, as a creator person, because we're all creators, but not all of us manage to bring the creativity out, because I think we're jaded through education and all sorts of BS in life. We've got to aim high, so any of your listeners or previous guests you've had on, you've got to aim for that person who's really high. It doesn't matter. It's not about ego. For us, it was like to be in the presence of somebody who's created a life that's way beyond the norm and actually created something so freaking cool through music and touched millions. To be in their presence and just have that moment is, not only do you learn, but it's cool as fuck. It's not about, check us out, we've been with Be Real. Yeah, it's a great thing to have, but it's like, do you realize we're around somebody who's created something so insanely incredible? And that inspires the shit out of us too. It's like the inspiration we got was mental. But at the same time,
it fires us up.
And at the same time, one thing that we do, and I think it's a tidbit for quite a few people, is that we always have our head in opportunities. So, for example, when we were watching this Smokebox interview, he was with this guy that we didn't know. And he was a very successful, world-renowned kickboxing champion in California. And I saw that with Carmen, and we thought, there's an opportunity to interview this dude. He loves cars as well. We met his manager, and to this day, we're now connected to his manager. We're yet to do an interview with him, but it's going to happen. But through him, we're actually going to also interview a UFC champion called Nate Diaz, who actually fought the Conor McGregor guy from Ireland.
Yeah. Awesome.
He's on the cards for us to, when we go back to LA, to actually interview him. And it's like this rolling effect of like when you meet someone else goes, hey, you guys are cool. Do you know what? I'm going to introduce you to this dude. And I'm going to put you in front of this because you guys are doing something quite unique and special. And we've adapted that all the time whenever we do Superfly, whenever we want to reach such people like Be Real or Jay Leno, to see who else through that door. Because once you get endorsed by one, others are more likely to go, well, if you guys have been featured with this publication or this podcast like yourselves, I want to do that. And because I've checked it out as well, and I see that what they do is right up my street, I'm down. And that's what we got from that experience. It was just like, wow, we not only just got Be Real, but now we're connected to these dudes who think we're cool, and vice versa. And we're like now in connection. And this manager who looks after him was actually managing Jean-Claude Van Damme at some point. And we're like, could we get Jean-Claude Van Damme?
That's so good.
He's not that much into cars, though.
But I'm like, maybe we could try, because this dude's cool. I used to watch all those films as a kid. I'm like, that'd be dope.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Keeping the dreams alive.
There's other stories as well. I mean, we can share them if you want, but I mean, there's another one we can think of. But you tell us what you want to find out, man. We're open.
I wanted to go into Inspiration Nation.
Yeah. Inspiration Nation.
Because you guys started talking about a lot about, people that you're inspiring, and like people that you just started connecting with. Are there any sort of, I call them everyday creative heroes? They're people that just doing their thing. They're maybe not so well known, but they just love what they do and they inspire you. Have you got anyone like that?
I've got one, but if you've got one, shoot first.
I would like to mention Max Grundy. I don't know if anybody would know him, but he's a sort of painter, as well as like stroke artist, as well as a car creator. But like for years, I was always wondering who is doing all the SEMA gear. Like SEMA is the best known, biggest industry car car show, thank you, in our industry. And it happens every year in Vegas. And there's loads of gear, like gear is in caps, t-shirts, hoodies, you name it, it's there for people to take away. And I always was wondering, who the hell is behind those? They are absolutely phenomenal. They are amazing. And behind those drawings is a husband and wife duo, just like us, more or less. His wife is helping him keeping the shop and everything up. But Max Grundy is the creator of all of that. Now, go and look him up. He is really a hero, family father, doing the best he can. And he has an amazing mindset to everything he does.
His work was also hired by the likes of Disney.
Yes.
He did a lot of drawings for Disney.
But you wouldn't know.
But you wouldn't know.
He's such a humble dude.
Absolutely. We didn't know till we finally met him one day after seeing him on social. And they were like, oh, yeah, I did that for Disney film. And I can't remember which ones. I think Cars was maybe one of them.
Cars.
And we're like, dude, no way. That's insane. We didn't even know that you were creating certain parts of the cartoon. Like, wow. We're like, gosh, this guy does put himself in different places. But he's just loving his work. He's just humble as hell and just wants to put it out there. Cool.
What about you, Tony?
For me, I think I'm going to pick not necessarily a person, but a certain community that we actually found through what we've done for the last 10 years. And we have a community of Hot Wheels creators. So the little cars, when you're a child, we've got a community who are actually creating customized versions of lifestyle vehicles, but made into the small cars.
People.
Oh my God, that sounds awesome.
Incredibly talented. It's so phenomenal that we're now dedicating a lot of what we do to them as well. We did a competition for the whole community worldwide 2 years ago with Hot Wheels as backing us, and we wanted to share what they do, because some of these dudes and even ladies can't afford a car. They can't afford to build one. They've got too many things going on, but what they do is they take pride in buying one of these little cars and recreating exactly what they would have as the actual real car in their life. And that to me is insane. They also create them, sell them off for charity to help charitable causes. It's sometimes some people's living. So they'll build one and say, hey, I'm selling this for $50, and someone would just love to have that on their mantelpiece, and they're making money, making business from it.
The fascinating part for me actually is that toolkit essentially looks like a real man's garage.
It is. It's like the
Like
kitchen.
a life
top.
size.
Well, it's a garage with spanners this big.
In miniature form. It looks like. Do you want to just name one so
Yeah,
people
I mean,
can look it up and
There's
see for
loads,
themselves?
but we obviously met all these guys online and ladies. But one guy we actually met physically, ironically, coming from my hometown in Stoke-on-Trent in North England. His name's Chris, and he has the account called Sideways King 75. This dude, he has a little garage within his house. He's got all the tools you would think in a car garage, but in miniature size, and the talent that he has for creating, not only vlogging, the way he builds, the way he teaches people it's blown us away. So yeah, Sideways King 75 is one of the guys of so many that we're just like, this is amazing. The talent, the actual patience to do something like that, because some of the details are so minute, and they mix in things like steampunk style. They mix cartoons within a car, and then come out with this thing. You're like, how does this even compute?
That's so cool. That's really cool.
Incredible. Yeah.
All right. Let's move it on. Let's go into
Random question.
What do we have? What do we get?
There's been some complaints that some of my questions I never answer. So I just want to be sure that there's no specific answer for this question. So you guys have to just make up your answer. Are you ready?
Ready.
Fire away.
How many chickens would it take to kill an elephant?
Well, it depends. I think one chicken with a fucking machine gun, that'd probably do it. And just one chicken in, that's
your cartoon mind, yes. I don't know. I think the elephant would run away seeing a chicken either way, because they run away from mice as well, no?
I guess so, yeah, that's true. Anything weird to run away from is big.
I weirdly had this choking idea that the chickens had to be stuffed in the elephant's mouth and trunk. So
that sounds very violent.
For a minute there, I actually thought it was through his butthole, but then I guess which way?
It's not quite joking, though.
I know. That's why I was like, what?
I didn't mean stuff him with chickens.
Oh, specifically. Oh,
misunderstandings easily happen.
Yes.
All right, let's move it on. Let's go to Hack Attack.
This is Hack Attack. I will not apologize for this bad intro.
Have you got any tips or tricks for the people out there? Maybe photography, maybe writing stuff, or anything you want to share?
I have something. Or do you want to go?
There's two things I have, but you go first.
Okay, well, the first thing, because you're talking to a creative audience, a lot of your people are very creative people. The one thing I know that the thing that creative people have to get into is marketing. Get to learn marketing digitally, because you probably have the best product and it's fucking amazing. And if you don't learn that and get in the trenches for that, not anybody's going to see you. So get into social media, start to learn Facebook, Insta, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Get in the trenches, practice, fail forward, and do that, because eventually what will happen, it will also open up a door so you can start to understand your audience to get leverage as to where to push your products. 100%.
There's two tidbits really that I've got, and this is through long years of learning. The first thing is that, so often Tony and I actually slated ourselves for not having the camera in our hands, or haven't got the camera with us. But the best camera you always have with you is your phone, really. That is the best camera. And I'm not saying in terms of the quality, but it's because it's in your hand. So don't miss an opportunity just because you don't have your camera. Document the hell out of everything you do. Yep. You'll be grateful afterwards. Because there's so many little things where we often looked back and said, if we only would have had our camera, or like, we are so dumb. Why didn't we use this?
Can I just add to that? Carmen's got a good point. I didn't mean to interrupt. Let's take, for example, right now, obviously, the whole coronavirus thing is not a pleasant thing for the entire world.
No.
We can't travel to photograph. We can't move. Obviously, we're in lockdown. When we go back to movie, we don't even know what kind of restrictions we'll have. Because we've documented so much content through our phones, through our DSLR cameras, we have, if we didn't have to shoot any cars
For the next year.
For the next year, we've probably going off for 2 or 3 years worth of content right now.
That hasn't been seen.
So what Carmen says is really crucial, because through social media, content creation is your best friend, and you've got to be able to have so much content to keep pushing every single day your message, because there's a lot of people out there pushing out similar things, and if you haven't got enough content to break through the noise, then you're not going to be seen. So yeah, sorry, I just wanted to add that.
Yeah,
no. As a creator, that was a big deal.
I completely agree with you guys, because, you know, for example, you guys asked me about had I documented my, you know, 1932 Ford build, and I hadn't. Like, I barely took pictures of it. Like, I literally was so entrenched in the build, trying to get it finished, because I also had a deadline to get it done by, you know, and I didn't take the documentation, and I feel like I'm kicking myself right now, because that car was amazing and beautiful, and it was a lovely build, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I have very little documentation of how I actually built it. And I mean, I really should have had the video camera going all the time. At least, you know, I would have been able to document something, even if I didn't know at that point how to shoot video footage. You know, I would have had something.
Well,
the same goes for, like, right now, you know, like, I'm building a sofa beer fridge, as you most of my listeners kind of may know, and I haven't documented it enough, and so now I'm starting to, like, take photos, even just so I got Instagram posts, just things like that. Do you know what I mean? It's not much more than that. It's just, you know, because if I don't put out things, then people don't know what I do, and therefore you can't ever build on what you're trying to build on. So, and it's the same, like what you talked about, marketing, right? You know, I'm trying to market myself in what I do, but if I don't tell anyone, how can I grow? Like, simple as that.
That's pretty much what it sums up. Like the one Tony said and what I said tie into one another. If you have no material to talk about yourself, what are you talking about?
Because we came from a point of view that we didn't have a lot of financial backing to be able to create so much content. So we leveraged our time so that every ounce of when we travel, we'd capture so much content. We'd be driving down the road, a car drives past us, which is really cool. Carmen would be hanging out the window, filming it and capturing that content. We can now use that as TikTok as a 15-second clip.
That's it.
Put music over that, we can, you know, thousands of views. It's that kind of content that it really does allow you to leverage your brand to a level that money can't buy. And if you don't have the money, you have that content. But we 7 years ago kicked ourselves, just like you said yourself. We were on a YouTube video the other day. I thought, shoot, man, we did that 7 years ago. We didn't complete film. No. We didn't continue. What the fuck was wrong with us? But this is the one thing I want to bring across, is that don't kick yourself too much, because I know I can be a bastard for kicking myself for things, but it's a mental thing, because sometimes it's a new way of life which you're not used to, and you also think you're not good enough.
You're not a superhuman either,
and you just think, oh, but I just don't get it, and it takes a while for your brain to go, that's what I need to do. Now it's second nature for us to get up in the morning, Instagram all the time, collect content, shoot everything, consistently be in that place, like snap, film, and we're thinking 5 miles ahead. That piece of content right now, I was like, okay, we did that today. That can be used for a blog post 2 weeks from now. Or that piece could be evergreen content, which if a trend comes back around, that thing can be used then down the line. So we're thinking as a creator in that way with marketing. Whatever we're capturing, because in your workshop, I'm guaranteeing there's so much. We could probably stand in your workshop tomorrow and go, you can film that, you can do this, you can take a picture of this, you can talk about that. But that's because we put ourselves in the trenches to do that work. And because of the lack of money, we thought, how do we create more from the little we had?
Yeah.
And we then started documenting. That's why it was interesting when we started to listen to Gary Vaynerchuk as one of the people we look up to. I thought, that's crazy. We were doing what he's doing now way before we even knew him. But that's not because of marketing. We did it out of lack of income. but it ends up being in our favor because in marketing it's clever because you're trying to outweigh less outgoings for your business and try and profitize that. So we were spending less on a weekend. We go, okay, $40 of fuel for a car show, 2 days out there. We've come back out with 5 feature cars and probably enough content for the next 6 months from one event. And that's how we do it. And as a creator like you, just because you're in a garage doing your thing, you've got so much you can do in that way to expand with that mobile phone, like Carmen says. It's insane.
The other tidbit, and that ties into what we just all 3 of us mentioned, is like if you digitize your business, which everybody really, 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 really needs to do now, you are going to write your own content. As writing your own content, you will have your own copy that you have to proofread. If you are proofreading or have done that at any point in time, it is a tough job. If you're reading any content 5 times, you're bound to not see your own mistakes anymore. Now, unless you have the luxury to have somebody who is totally fresh-eyed to that content, which most people don't have, the best thing, and this is a tidbit we got from a very, very good copywriter ourselves, change the font to what you're reading. Because psychologically, your brain is all of a sudden thinking, oh, that's new.
Interesting.
You're opening up again.
Love
so
it.
That's a tidbit I can give, and it made life a lot easier since we have started doing that.
I would also add, for me, like I'm not the best speller, and I often do things wrong, like structure sentences wrong, and some people jump up and down about the fact that I've said something wrong, but I just post it anyway. Like even if I knew that, for example, one of the podcasts in the past, I had misspelt your on the on the thumbnail, right? And I got a lot of curry over it, but do you know what? I didn't care. I didn't change it because it was out there already. So it was done. Like, just accept that you make mistakes like that and just get over it and move forward, right?
Yeah, it's a talking point. Like, most people out there, and this is obviously coming from a professional copywriter's perspective, and I understand, once something is in print, it's really, really bad because you pay a hell of a lot of money in order to have that. Online, this is my adaptation, and I'm ranting a little bit about that because I hear that so often. Online, nothing is set in stone. Nothing has been paid for you to write this piece of content. So please, if you see a mistake, come to us, say it. Hey, just wanted to let you know, a quick notch. I'm sure you're busy. You may have missed it. Do you mind? It will make it look better. Of course, we'll do that. If not, I'd much rather leave it just like that and make it a proper talking point amongst people. Not for me, but for them. Because that's actually good for me if they're talking on my post. So, you know what? You're doing me a favor. I don't care. But
100%.
It's not set in stone what we do. If you make a mistake on a post and you see it and you are like, oh my God, don't slate yourself. Don't sweat it. Just amend it. Take it down again. Who cares? Like, post it again. The likelihood that the whole of your audience has seen that one post is minute. In the vast majority of posts that we are posting nowadays, like sometimes we are posting up to 17, 18 times on Superfly Autos on Facebook. Not everybody will see every single post. It's not even possible anymore.
No, I mean, like I think I post 3 times a day, and I guarantee you not everyone sees those 3 posts. So, that's just how it is. I mean, you got to say that if you want to be seen, though, you have to post more. It's simple as that.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to do it when the mistakes happen. It happens. Just roll with it. Someone's opinion is just going to be them scrutinizing. We're just inherent as humans to pick out the flaws over the good things, but don't let it put you down. Because we've had it before. We've had it many times, like yourselves, and we've thought, okay, but now we've gone. That's fine. Some are constructive, and we think, thank you so much. Some are not, and they can play the arseholes. We just think, fuck you, go away. And after that, we're just like, it happens, and that's it. We just move on. But don't let it stop, because a lot of people stop posting after they're like, oh, I don't want to do it anymore because I'm being scrutinized. Fuck them.
no, that's true.
Yeah, sorry.
Now, in that regard, you really have to grow a thick skin.
That's it. Yeah. Anyway.
Sounds over.
Where can people find you guys?
So let's start with the website. So it's www.superfly-autos.com. And then we're also on Facebook. So facebook.com/Superfly Autos. Equally so on Instagram. And
Superfly
it's
underscore autos.
yeah, so Superfly_Autos and TikTok Superfly Autos as well.
We are also on Twitter, but
yeah.
not very
Not as active as the others.
that's it, as well as on Pinterest, just as much, not as active.
Same name, Superfly Autos can be found there.
But yeah, you can find us.
And YouTube as well, which we're going to start to do a bit more with that soon. But predominantly, it's Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are the main ones, and the website.
Love it, guys. Hey, thank you so much for coming in as being guests. You guys are amazing. You've built an amazing platform, great community, and I just want to encourage you guys to keep on doing your awesome work. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you dig the show and you want to help, join the GA Nation by heading over to Patreon. I'll put a link in the show notes. If you can't support the podcast financially, and you can help just as much by telling a friend or posting on Instagram, sharing a story, or better yet, go on to your podcast app and rate and review the podcast. As I said before, and I'll say it again, it would not only mean the world to me, but mean the world to my guests. If you want to give me some feedback, send your DMs to @GarageAvenger on Instagram. Please go check out Tony and Carmen and their amazing work at Superfly Autos. Until next time, keep pushing yourselves, keep ballsing up things, keep learning, get inspired, and I'll catch you on the flip side. We're out.
Cool.
That was awesome.